My daughter came home at 8:17 p.m. on a Tuesday, shivering under a too-thin jacket, her school backpack hanging from one shoulder. 15 years old enough to act brave, young enough to still believe home was supposed to be safe. I was in the kitchen when I heard the key scrape against the lock. Once, twice, a pause, then again, harder this time. Metal against metal, confusion turning into panic. I wiped my hands on a towel and walked toward the door. Before I could reach it, my phone buzzed. A notification from the security app, front door, invalid key attempt. My stomach dropped. Invalid? That didn't make sense. We lived here. This was our home. My daughter, Mia, tried again. The key didn't fit, not because she was doing it wrong. Because the lock had been changed. I yanked the door open. Mia stumbled back, eyes wide. Mom, she breathed, voice trembling with relief and fear mixed together. My key, it won't. I pulled her inside instantly, hands scanning her shoulders like I could physically remove whatever danger was hovering outside. It's okay, I murmured. It's okay, but it wasn't, because as I looked past her into the dim hallway, I saw something that made my blood go cold. A new deadbolt, silver, shiny, installed recently. I turned slowly. My mother stood at the end of the hallway. Not surprised, not embarrassed, just waiting. Her arms were folded neatly, like she was watching a neighbor's problem, not her granddaughter's fear. Mia's breath caught. Grandma, she whispered. My mother's expression didn't soften. Instead, she spoke in a calm voice that felt like ice. We have all decided, she said, that you don't live here anymore. For a second, I didn't understand the words. They floated in the air like a foreign language. Then they landed. Hard. My throat tightened. What did you just say? My mother lifted her chin slightly. You heard me. Mia's fingers curled into the fabric of my sleeve. Mom, she whispered, barely audible. My chest was burning now. This is my house, I said, voice shaking. My mother's eyes flickered with impatience. It was your house while we allowed it, she replied. Allowed it, as if my life was a privilege they handed out. I took a slow breath. Mia was outside, I said carefully. In the cold. Her key didn't work. You changed the locks. My mother shrugged. It was necessary. Necessary. I stared at her. This was the woman who used to tuck blankets around Mia when she was small, who used to smile at birthdays and bake cupcakes and pretend warmth. But warmth from her had always come with conditions. And now, the conditions were gone. Mia's voice trembled. Grandma, did I do something wrong? My mother looked at her like she was a stranger. This isn't about you, she said dismissively. Then she turned her gaze back to me. It's about choices. I felt something sharp rise in my chest. Choices? I repeated. Yes, my mother said calmly. Your choices. I laughed once, bitter and disbelieving. My choices are why you locked my daughter out? My mother's mouth tightened. You left the family, she said. I blinked. I left? I had moved out at 23 after years of suffocating control. I had built a life as a single mother after Mia's father disappeared. I had worked 2 jobs to keep stability. And now, she was rewriting history like I'd abandoned them. I didn't leave, I said quietly. I survived. My mother's eyes hardened. Don't dramatize. Mia flinched beside me. I looked down at my daughter, her cheeks pink from cold, her lashes damp. She had tried to be strong. She had walked home believing the door would open. And my mother had decided to make it a lesson. I swallowed hard. Who is we? I asked, voice low. My mother's expression didn't change. The family, she said simply. My stomach turned. My brother, my sister, my stepfather, all of them, deciding, without me, without Mia. My voice shook. You held a meeting? My mother shrugged again. It was overdue. Overdue. Like eviction was a family tradition. Mia's fingers tightened around my sleeve. Mom, can we go inside? She whispered. The cruelty of her asking to go inside while standing in her own home nearly broke something in me. I nodded slowly. Yes, I whispered back. We can go. Then I looked at my mother. You're telling me to leave tonight. My mother's voice was calm. You should pack essentials. My chest rose and fell. I could scream. I could throw something. I could collapse. But then I saw Mia's face. Fear, confusion, shame, and I realized, if I reacted emotionally, my mother would win. She wanted chaos. She wanted proof that I was unstable. That she was right. So I did the only thing she didn't expect. I nodded once. I kept my voice soft. Understood, I said. My mother blinked. Just once. A flicker of surprise. She expected pleading, not acceptance. Mia turned her face up toward me, eyes wide. Mom? I squeezed her hand gently. Get your backpack, I murmured. Just the important things. My mother watched, suspicious now. You're taking this too easily, she said. I smiled faintly. No, I replied. I'm taking this clearly. We walked past her, past the hallway, past the framed family photos where my face was always slightly off-center, like an afterthought. Mia moved quietly, grabbing her laptop, her school binder, her favorite hoodie. She kept glancing at me like she was waiting for me to break. But I didn't. Not here, not in front of her. 10 minutes later, we stood at the door again. My mother held out a small envelope. Your mail, she said coldly. Forwarding address will be needed. Forwarding address. Like we were nothing but paperwork. I took it without looking. Then I looked directly at her. You locked a child out in the cold, I said softly. My mother's eyes narrowed. I protected this family. I nodded once. And I will protect mine. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I opened the door. The night air hit us like a slap. Mia hesitated on the porch, then whispered, broken. Where will we go? I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. Somewhere safe, I said. And we walked down the steps without looking back. We stayed at a small motel that night. Not far, just far enough that the silence could breathe. Mia curled up on the bed, knees pulled to her chest. I thought, Grandma loved me, she whispered. I sat beside her, brushing her hair back. She loves control, I said quietly. That's different. Mia's voice cracked. Did we do something wrong? I shook my head, throat tight. No, we did something right. Outside, rain began to fall softly. Mia fell asleep eventually, exhaustion winning. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. The words kept replaying. We have all decided you don't live here anymore. Decided, like my life was a vote. Like my daughter's safety was optional. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Another from my brother. Mom says you'll calm down soon. Calm down. As if being locked out was a tantrum. I didn't respond. I opened my laptop, logged into my documents, then into something my mother didn't know existed. A legal file. A certified letter draft. Because my name was still on that deed. And the lock change? That was illegal. But more than that, it was cruel. And cruelty always leaves a trail. 3 days, my lawyer had once told me, is all it takes for consequences to arrive if you send the right letter. I began typing, not with anger, with precision, because the next time my mother saw an envelope, it wouldn't be from me. It would be from someone she couldn't intimidate. The next morning, Mia woke up before I did. I found her sitting on the motel bed, fully dressed, backpack beside her like she was afraid to unpack anything. Her eyes were tired but dry. 15-year-olds learn quickly when tears don't change adults. Are we going to school? She asked softly. The question nearly shattered me. Even after being locked out, her first instinct was normalcy. Responsibility. Survival. I nodded. Yes, I said. We're going to keep living. She hesitated. Will we go back home? I swallowed. We will go forward, I replied. That was the only promise I could make. I dropped her off outside the school entrance, watching her walk in with her shoulders pulled tight, like she was carrying more than books. When I returned to the motel parking lot, my phone buzzed. Elaine Harper, my attorney. She answered before I could speak. I got your email last night, she said, voice sharp with focus. Tell me exactly what happened. I told her everything. The changed locks, my mother's words, the envelope, the fact that Mia had been left outside in the cold. Elaine was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, calm and deadly, that was an illegal eviction. My throat tightened. I thought so. It doesn't matter what your mother decided, Elaine continued. If your name is on that deed, she cannot remove you without due process. And locking a minor out. She paused. Makes this far more serious. I exhaled slowly. I don't want drama, I whispered. Elaine's tone softened. Then don't make drama. Make documentation. I closed my eyes. What do we do? Elaine replied with one word. Letter. Not a threat. Not a scream. A letter. The kind of letter people like my mother fear more than emotion. Because paper doesn't bend. Elaine drafted it within an hour. A formal notice. Illegal lock change. Unlawful exclusion of a minor. Demand for immediate restoration of access. And then, the part that mattered most. Failure to comply within 72 hours will result in court filing and emergency protective measures. Protective measures. My mother loved family meetings. She would hate legal ones. Elaine sent it certified. Signature required. I didn't tell Mia. She already carried enough. For 3 days, we lived quietly. Motel breakfasts. School drop-offs. Work calls from my car. Mia didn't complain once. That was the worst part. She was too mature because she had to be. On the second day, my sister texted again. Mom says you're embarrassing everyone. Embarrassing. As if child abandonment was private. My brother added, just apologize and come back. Apologize. For being locked out. I didn't reply. On the third day, at exactly 10:14 a.m., Elaine called. It was delivered, she said. My pulse tightened. She signed for it. I pictured my mother's hand taking the envelope, her confident smile expecting obedience. Then the moment her eyes hit the letterhead. Law office. Certified notice. Consequences. What happens now? I asked quietly. Elaine's voice was calm. Now, we wait for the panic. It didn't take long. At 11:02 a.m., my phone rang. Mom. I stared at it, heartbeat steady. Then answered. Hello? Her voice exploded instantly, the calm mask gone. What did you do? I kept my tone soft. I sent a letter. A letter? She snapped. You involved lawyers? I breathed slowly. You locked my daughter out. My mother's voice shook with fury. This is a family issue. I almost laughed. A family issue is arguing over dessert, I replied quietly. This was an eviction. My mother hissed. You're overreacting. Mia spent hours in the rain. I said nothing for a beat. Then, I'm underreacting compared to what the court will call it. Silence. Then my mother's voice dropped, suddenly controlled again. You think you can threaten me? I smiled faintly. I'm not threatening you. I lowered my voice. I'm informing you. She inhaled sharply. You will not destroy this family with your drama. Drama. Her favorite weapon. I replied calmly. You destroyed it when you decided my child didn't belong. My mother's tone sharpened. This isn't about belonging. This is about respect. Respect. Translation. Obedience. I whispered. You want respect? Start with basic humanity. She faltered, then snapped again. If you file anything, you'll regret it. Regret. The word slid out like poison. I stayed calm. You already changed the locks. What else do you have left? Silence. A crack. Then she said something I didn't expect. You don't understand what's at stake. My stomach tightened. At stake? I repeated. My mother exhaled shakily. The house isn't just a house. I frowned. What does that mean? She hesitated too long. Then, there are financial complications. My pulse slowed. Complications. The kind of word people use when the truth is uglier. I whispered. What did you do? My mother snapped. Nothing. Just, come back. We can talk. Talk. So she could regain control. I realized then, this wasn't just cruelty. This was desperation. I ended the call. Elaine called me minutes later. She contacted you, didn't she? Yes, I said. Elaine's voice turned sharp. Good. That means she's scared. Scared of what? Elaine paused. People who change locks illegally are usually hiding something bigger. My chest tightened. What bigger? Elaine exhaled. I pulled property records this morning. My stomach dropped. And? Elaine's voice was calm. There's a second lien on the house. Lien. Debt. My mother's perfect control wrapped around financial collapse. Elaine continued. Your mother took out a loan against the property, 6 months ago. 6 months. Before any family decision. Before Mia's key didn't fit. This wasn't about belonging. This was about money. My mother wasn't removing us to protect tradition. She was removing us because she was running out of options. And I, without meaning to, had become the obstacle. Elaine's voice sharpened. I think your mother was trying to push you out before something surfaces. My throat went dry. Like what? Elaine replied quietly. Foreclosure. The word hit like thunder. My mother didn't lock Mia out because she hated us. She locked us out because she was losing everything. And she needed someone else to blame. Foreclosure. The word echoed in my head like a siren that had been muted for too long. My mother had spent her entire life building an image of stability, perfect home, perfect family, perfect control. And underneath it, debt, panic, collapse. It wasn't just that she had locked my daughter out. It was that she had done it while the house itself was already slipping from her hands. I sat in the motel parking lot for a long moment, staring at the steering wheel, trying to breathe. Mia thought home was a lock and a key. My mother knew home was a loan and a signature. Elaine's voice was calm through the phone. We need to move quickly, she said. Because if there's foreclosure pending, your mother may be trying to consolidate control. Push you out, sell, refinance, anything. My throat tightened. She changed the locks before the bank could change them. Elaine paused. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I whispered, what do we do? Elaine exhaled. We do what your mother fears most. I swallowed. What? Transparency. That afternoon, Elaine met me at her office with a folder thick enough to feel like gravity. Inside were documents, loan records, lien filings, bank notices, my mother's signature, looped and familiar, sitting beneath terms she hadn't told anyone about. Elaine slid one page forward. Notice of default, final warning. My stomach dropped. She's already behind, I whispered. Elaine nodded. 3 months. 3 months. While she hosted dinners. While she smiled. While she decided my daughter didn't belong. She had been drowning quietly. Elaine tapped another page. And here's the worst part. I looked down. Colorado signer. Mark Bennett. My uncle. My mother hadn't just borrowed against the house. She had done it with help. Family help. The same family that held meetings about who belonged. Elaine's voice was sharp. They leveraged the property, and they listed occupancy changes in the notes. My pulse slammed. Occupancy changes? Elaine nodded grimly. They told the lender you were no longer a permanent resident. I froze. She had already erased me on paper. Before she erased me with a lock. My voice came out low. So she was preparing. Elaine's gaze didn't soften. She was protecting herself. The words landed like stone. My mother had looked at my daughter in the rain and said we don't live here anymore. Because she needed the bank to believe it too. I sat back slowly. Does Mia know any of this? Elaine asked quietly. I shook my head. She just knows her key didn't work. Elaine's jaw tightened. Then we keep it that way. She deserves childhood, not foreclosure. I nodded, throat thick. Elaine leaned forward. Your mother's next move will be a sale attempt. Or a refinancing. She can't do that cleanly while your name is still attached. My stomach tightened. So she wanted us gone before she moved assets. Elaine nodded. And now she's trapped. Trapped. Because the certified letter forced everything into the open. Elaine's phone buzzed. She glanced. Then looked up. It's happening. What? Elaine turned her screen toward me. Incoming email. From the lender's legal department. Subject. Urgent. Beneficiary occupancy dispute. My breath caught. Elaine opened it. The bank had received an inquiry. A legal challenge. Because of my letter. Because of the illegal lockout. Because my name was still on record. The lender was now auditing the entire agreement. Elaine's lips pressed together. This is the letter your mother never expected. My stomach flipped. The bank is investigating. Elaine nodded. They think she attempted fraudulent removal of a legal resident to secure the loan. Fraud. Again. My mother's favorite weapon, control, was now her liability. At 5:36 p.m., my mother called. I didn't answer. She called again. Then she texted. Please come home. Now. The urgency wasn't maternal. It was financial. Elaine's voice was calm beside me. Do you want to see her? My stomach tightened. Part of me didn't. Part of me needed her to say it out loud. Yes, I whispered. We went back that evening. Not to beg. To witness. Elaine came with me. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Her face was pale in a way I had never seen. Not angry pale. Afraid pale. She looked past me, saw Elaine, and flinched. What is this? She whispered. Elaine's tone was polite. Mrs. Bennett. My mother's voice trembled. You brought your lawyer into my house. Elaine nodded slightly. You brought your granddaughter into the rain. Silence. My mother's lips shook. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. Just come inside. I stepped in slowly. The hallway looked the same. Family photos. Perfect frames. But now it all felt hollow. My mother's hands wrung together. You don't understand, she said quickly. I was trying to fix things. Fix things. Always fix things. By breaking someone else. Elaine spoke calmly. The bank contacted us. My mother froze. What? Elaine continued. They're auditing your loan. And they're concerned about the occupancy misrepresentation. My mother's face drained completely. No, she whispered. They can't. I spoke softly. You told them I didn't live here. My mother flinched. I had to, she whispered. Mark said it would help. He said. Mark. Of course. My uncle's shadow everywhere. Elaine's eyes sharpened. You involved Mr. Bennett in this loan? My mother's voice cracked. He promised it was temporary. He promised we could keep the house. I stared at her. And you thought locking out my daughter would save the house. My mother sobbed suddenly. I didn't know what else to do. There it was. The same excuse. I didn't know what else to do. It was always the excuse people used when they chose cowardice. Elaine's voice was steady. The lender has issued a formal notice. If fraud is confirmed, they will accelerate the loan. Accelerate. Foreclosure fast-tracked. My mother sank into a chair, shaking. No, please. Her control was gone. The bank didn't care about family meetings. It cared about paper truth. My mother looked up at me, eyes desperate. Help me. The words were small, human, but too late. I looked at her quietly. You locked out a child. She sobbed harder. I was scared. I nodded slowly. So was Mia. Silence filled the house. Elaine gathered her folder. The bank will proceed, she said calmly. We will protect our client's legal standing. My mother whispered, you're going to ruin me. I leaned forward slightly. No, I said softly. You ruined yourself when you decided love was negotiable. My mother's face crumpled. For the first time, she looked old. Not powerful, not in control, just afraid. Elaine and I left. Outside, the night air was cold. But it felt cleaner. 2 weeks later, the house was listed for sale under court supervision. My Uncle Mark was questioned about the loan. My mother moved into a small apartment. No more perfect dinners. No more locks changed in secret. Mia and I moved into a new place across town. A smaller house. A safer one. The first night there, Mia held her new key tightly. Will it work? She asked softly. My throat tightened. Yes, I whispered. It will always work. She slid it into the lock. It turned smoothly. The door opened. Warm light spilled out. Mia exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for 3 days. Then she looked at me. Mom, are we okay? I knelt beside her, brushing her hair back. We are more than okay, I said. We're free. My mother received the letter she never expected. Not from me, from the bank. And when she read it, she went pale. Because consequences don't care about family titles. They only care about truth. And the truth was simple. No one gets to lock a child out in the rain and keep pretending they're in control.